everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am here to do a book tag. I have not done one of these in quite a few months, but I saw that Jessin from Jessin Reads Romance came up with this New Year booktuber tag, and McKay from Oh Hey It's McKay specifically tagged me to do it, and so I thought that I should, plus it looked like a really fun video to make. So this is just a series of 8 questions all about being a booktuber in 2023 in the new year. So let's just go ahead and dive on into it. This is definitely going to be more of a casual video, though I'd like to think all my videos are pretty casual, but yeah, I mean, I have some answers kind of mapped out here, but I'm going to be kind of winging it with most of my answers, I think. So for number 1, we have, what are you most excited about for 2023? So I have quite a few exciting things going on in my personal life, in my career. So in the second half of February into the beginning of March, I have a very exciting opera gig coming up. Basically, I have been contracted to sing a role that I have wanted to sing for, I think, 5 years at this point. Yeah, because this was an opera. It's called Alcina by Handel. This is a Baroque opera, so it was written in the early 1700s. So I did this opera in 2017 for a summer program, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I love singing Baroque music in general. I just think that my voice really lends itself to that style and that time period of music. And there was another role in that opera that I wasn't singing at the time that I had become like absolutely obsessed with. And so ever since then, I had made it a point that in some point in my life, I was gonna sing this role. And so this offer just kind of came out of nowhere. I haven't done a role in an opera in 3 years. My last opera gig was literally the week before lockdown in March of 2020. And so I haven't done an actual role in an opera since then. I have done a musical theater role, and I've done some like opera and musical theater concerts since then, but yeah, this will be my first time doing like a full role. So for 2023, I'm also really excited about putting myself out there more when it comes to my performing career specifically. Basically, partly because of COVID, but also partly because I was in a depression for most of 2022, probably into 2021. I just didn't want to put myself out there when it came to my singing and my performing. So while I'm very happy with where I am with my teaching career, I'm getting back to a really good place, I feel, in terms of my singing and performing career. So I'm just really excited to see what's to come in 2023, besides that really exciting opera gig that I just told you guys about. Also, of course, I'm very excited about my reading and what books I'm gonna read in 2023. Specifically, I'm very excited about the read-alongs that are going to be happening this year. So right now when I'm filming this, we are in the middle of doing the Folk of the Air read-along, which is a read-along that I put together, and I invited some of my friends to be co-hosts with me. I will link them down in the description below. But that's Chandler, Samantha, Christy, and Melissa. And so far we've done 2 live shows, and those discussions have been going really well, and I'm just really excited to keep moving along in that read-along, doing more live shows. And so that was my first time ever putting together something like that, and I feel like it came out really well. You know, I'm very happy with how that's been going, and so I definitely want to create more read-alongs in the new year and into years to come, you know, because of how well this one has been going. So if you guys have suggestions, by the way, for series that you think would be really great read-alongs for me to put together, whether they be YA or otherwise, definitely let me know. I'm definitely more in a YA fantasy kick when it comes to series that I want to do read-alongs for. I'm definitely thinking of doing a Diviners read-along at some point, because I really want to reread that series, and I want to encourage you guys to pick up that series as well. And then I'm also just really excited about stepping up my content in general. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I've been changing up the way that I make my thumbnails for my videos. I now use Canva. I was using Adobe Spark for a really long time, but I finally figured out a way to use Canva that really works for me. And I'm also really excited about the cute little intro that I made that I have been adding to my my most recent videos. I hope that you guys have taken notice of it because it's something that makes me really happy when I start one of my videos. And yeah, I mean, a lot of this stuff I'm gonna bring up later in the video because of different questions, but that's just the basis of what I'm excited about. So question 2, that was all for question 1. Oh my goodness. Question 2 is, what is your Goodreads challenge goal? So in 2022, I read a total of 405 books, which I'm very, very happy about. And I hope to read about that many in 2023 as well. But at the beginning of the year, I always set my goal at 100 books because I don't want to set an incredibly ambitious goal right at the beginning of the year. I just feel like that's kind of setting myself up for failure. So I always set it at 100 books, and then as the year goes along, if I surpass 100 books, which I'm sure I will, I then make my goal 200 books and then 300 books, you know? That's just how I like to make my Goodreads goal. Question 3, list 3 5-star predictions. So first up on the list, Heartless by Elsie Silver. All of my friends have been raving and raving about this book. This is book 2 in her Chestnut Spring series, and I read book 1, which is Flawless, in October. Absolutely loved that book, really loved it. It almost made my top 10 contemporary romances of 2022, but everybody's just been raving and raving and raving about this book. So I will be shocked if I don't give this 5 stars. Oh my God, I cannot wait to read this. I'm also incredibly excited for The Duke Gets Even by Joanna Shupe. This is the 4th and final book in her Fifth Avenue Rebels historical romance series. We are finally getting Nellie and the Duke of Lockwood's romance. I'm so excited. This cover is absolutely everything. Book 2 of the series, The Lady Gets Lucky, is one of my like top 3 favorite historical romances of all time. I also really loved The Bride Goes Rogue. So I have very high hopes for this final book, and I've been seeing some really great reviews from people that have had the privilege of reading the ARC. So excited for this. And then my third 5-star prediction that I wanted to quickly mention is The Stolen Heir by Holly Black. Look at this shiny cover. I had to get the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition because I personally prefer these black covers to the Folk of the Air series, but this is book 1 in a spin-off duology of the Folk of the Air series. And so our live show discussion for this book is going to be on January 28th on my channel. We also have a live show for The Queen of Nothing and How the King of Elfame Learned to Hate Stories on the 22nd. But I wanted to bring up the specific date for this book, and I'm very excited about picking up this new part of the story. And all I know is that Oak is going to be a major character, and this takes place 8 years after the events of The Queen of Nothing. So I really have no expectations, but also incredibly high expectations at the same time. I've been purposefully staying away from any reviews that I've seen because I want to go into this completely blind. So question 4 is, what genre slash trope slash subgenre do you want to read more of in 2023? And boy, do I have a list here for you guys. I don't have any like specific tropes. The only one that I could think of is I do want to read more poly romances and more why choose romances. But other than that, these are more genres than anything else. I really want to read more dark romances. I have realized over the last few months that I definitely am a dark romance girly for sure. I really want to make a point of reading more non-romance books and more non-fiction books, specifically memoirs, because I really do enjoy non-romance books, but in 2022, I was just so invested in the romance genre that I couldn't see past that, you know? It was a challenge for me to want to pick up books that are not romance novels, and so in the new year, I am feeling very optimistic that I will be able to pick up more nonfiction books and more, like I said, just non-romance books, whether that be literary fiction, thrillers, fantasy, science fiction, what have you. I also really want to read more fanfics. I fell in love with fanfics in 2022 when I read Manacled all the way back in January, and since then I've read a few more fics, but I have so many downloaded onto my Kindle, specifically a lot of Harry Potter Hermione fanfics that are sitting on my Kindle that I just need to devote some time to reading them. So I'm actually really happy that I'm already working on some of these goals, because I just started The Disappearances of Draco Malfoy by Speechwriter. I will link that fic down in the description below. This is a retelling of book 7, as if Draco was hunting for the Horcruxes with the main trio, and Hermione and Draco end up falling in love. And so far, I'm obsessed. By the way, there is an audiobook for this fic on Spotify. There is this podcast, I think it's ETL Echo, and they produce a lot of audiobooks for Harry Potter, specifically Hermione fanfics from what I've found. And so I was very excited to see that there was an audiobook for this fic, because this is a very long fanfic. It's like probably 800 pages, maybe even more. I think that's gonna be a very doable goal for me this year, is just slowly working my way through these fanfics that are just sitting on my Kindle. I also really want to read more fantasy and science fiction romances, but when it comes to science fiction romances, I don't want to just read alien romances. I want to read romances where there's a hero and heroine, or, you know, we have two main characters and there's like a space war going on or something like that. I need to do my own research in terms of finding those kinds of romances. I have come across some in the past, but most of the science fiction romances that you find are gonna be alien romances, so I kind of want to branch out beyond that, though I do enjoy alien romances for sure. And then yes, fantasy romances for sure, because I do truly adore fantasy romance. It's just a genre that has fallen to the wayside because of other books that have taken priority on my TBR. And then, oh, I also really want to delve deeply into paranormal historical romances. I just started this series by Bec McMaster. It's her London Steampunk series. I read book 1, which is Kiss of Steel, and this book and this series gives me vibes of the Infernal Devices series by Cassandra Clare, as well as the Maiden Lane series by Elizabeth Hoyt. It's got like those dark historical romance vibes as well as the paranormal steampunk vibes, and Bec McMaster is doing a really great job of combining those elements together. So I want to find even more books like this in 2023, because I love historical romances, I love paranormal romances. Let's put the two together, right? And then finally, I definitely want to prioritize reading YA or young adult books in 2023. That genre definitely fell to the wayside in 2022. Once again, I was reading almost exclusively adult romance novels last year, and there's nothing wrong with that, but me personally, I do want to read a bit more diversely in terms of the genres that I'm reading, and I still very much love YA, whether that be contemporary, fantasy, science fiction, what have you. I just adore that genre, and I think that I'm always going to have an appreciation for it. So yes, definitely planning on picking up more of those in the new year. Okay, question 5. What trope do you think will be the most popular in 2023? So I do think that enemies to lovers is probably going to be the prevailing romance trope in 2023, like it was in 2022. But I actually have a caveat to that I'm gonna mention in another question. But I am someone that, as much as I love enemies to lovers, I have a new appreciation for friends to lovers. So I would love to see that trope get more popular, but I don't think that's actually gonna happen. This isn't a trope by any means, but I think unfortunately Colleen Hoover books are going to be just as popular this year, if not more so, as they were in 2022. Book Talk definitely made Colleen Hoover and her books just blow up. I have been seeing so many people that I follow who aren't readers picking up her books and loving them. I have my own thoughts and opinions about Colleen Hoover, and I'll mostly keep those to myself because I don't want to make anyone mad. But just know that I'm not a huge fan of her or her books. And then I just put, again, this isn't a trope, but just Book Talk in general. I think that, you know, that's almost completely taken over the online book community in general. I'm not someone that likes TikTok or Book Talk in general. I tend to stay away from that app. I find that that community can be incredibly toxic and just odd, I don't know, in the books that they are obsessed with, and I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me, you know. But if you love Book Talk, good for you. I do not want to offend anybody by any means. It's just I don't really understand it. Number 6, we have 3 bookish goals. So a big one for me is, like I said in question 1, I want to step up my content. So I want to come up with more creative content. I want to also step up the content that I put on my Instagram, my Bookstagram. My Instagram's a little bit weird because I don't have 2 separate Instagrams. Like I don't have a personal Instagram and a separate Bookstagram account. I just have one Instagram account. And so I have a mix of like personal things and book related things. And so I definitely want to step up the kind of content that I put on my Instagram, my Bookstagram, whatever you want to call it. Now that I've gotten more and more used to Canva and, you know, like making my own designs and graphics and things like that, I'm really happy with the graphics that I came up with for the Folk of the Air read along. As an example, by the way, I mentioned earlier that I'm really happy with the thumbnails that I've been coming out with. I want to give a special shout out to Ava from Ava's Romance Books. She made a specific video all about making thumbnails for booktube videos. I'm going to link that video down in the description below. I found that video to be just incredibly helpful. She fully explains her process of making thumbnails, and as someone who's not the most tech savvy, I really appreciated that video. So highly recommend checking that video out for yourself if you are a content creator as well. Also, another bookish goal is reading more diversely. I already brought this up with the genres that I read, but I really want and need to be better about reading books by diverse authors and or books about diverse characters. I definitely don't make that as much of a priority as I should, and I'll be the first one to call myself out about that. The majority of the books that I read are about white people by white people. It's not like I'm consciously choosing to read mostly white authors, but I need to make more of a point of, you know, doing my own research and finding more diverse books, whether it be romance books or books of other genres. I just need to do a better job of that in 2023. And then finally, supporting other booktubers and collaborating with other booktubers. I feel like I've been okay at this in recent years, but I will be very upfront. I am terrible, absolutely terrible at watching other booktubers' content. Like people that I'm friends with, I just am not putting in the time of watching their content and commenting on their videos. I'm very good at supporting their Instagram content because that's like really quick and easy to do, but I need to be better about supporting my friends. That's really the end of it. I think what might work for me is maybe setting aside a certain amount of time per week where I can just like binge a bunch of my friends' content. That might work out best for me. But yeah, because I have so many friends that are always supporting me and my content and leaving comments on my videos, but I'm not doing the same for them, and that's not okay, you know? As much as I love and support my friends, I'm not doing as much as I could be doing to really support them. You know what I mean? And I do want to collaborate more with my friends, with other booktubers. I think I've been doing a pretty good job of this, especially with the read-alongs and things like that, but I definitely want to make more of a conscious effort of reaching out to my friends and putting together like videos that we can collab on together. So now we have 3 personal goals. For me, a big goal in 2023 is working out more. I have been doing a really good job of holding myself accountable on my Instagram stories specifically. So every day that I work out, I take a selfie of myself and I'll put a link to the YouTube workout that I did that day. And it's really helpful for me to hold myself accountable for days that I'm working out. I don't work out every single day. That's not a realistic goal for me, but any day that I do work out, I make a point of making that post, of linking that specific video that I worked out to, because it's just helpful for me. And I think it's helpful for people that follow me on Instagram if they also want to start a workout journey. I specifically do dance workouts. Those are the type of workouts that work really well for me just because those are really fun workouts. So yeah, just like taking better care of myself, I would say is a big personal goal for me. It's not necessarily just so I'll lose weight. It's more that I just want to be a healthier version of myself, because there have been times in my life where I lost like 40 or 50 pounds, but that didn't necessarily make me a happier person, you know? Like, weight loss doesn't and shouldn't equate to happiness, you know? I just want to be a healthier version of myself, and part of that is going to be working out and just dancing more, you know? And with that working out goal is also just taking care of my mental health better. In 2023, I was in a pretty dark place for most of 2022. I was definitely suffering from depression, and yeah, like 2022, there were some highs, but there were some like very, 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 very low lows for me. I don't want to delve too deeply into what I was feeling at the time, but just know that I was not in a good place. And so this year I want to find better ways to cope and to take care of myself and to take care of my mental well-being. And maybe that's just gonna take some simple research online, talking to other people. You know, I don't really know what the answer is for me, you know, but I just want to take better care of myself, both in mind and body, basically. Also, a big personal goal, I mentioned this in question 1, is just like taking better care of my career. I just want to continue putting myself out there and finding ways to truly utilize my talents, basically. And then my third personal goal is just being better at cultivating friendships, both forming friendships and keeping up with them. You know, being better about reaching out to my friends. It's very easy, especially when you're in a depression like I was last year. It's just very easy to like shrink in on yourself and not want to reach out to others. I know that I have friends and family that truly love me and truly care about me. But when you're in a very dark mindset, that's easy to forget. And so now that I'm feeling better, I just want to do a better job of keeping up those relationships. So the last question is, what do you leave behind in 2022? So this first part of the answer is a callback to a previous question that I answered. I want to leave behind the enemies to lovers trope that has become incredibly popular, especially this past year. The reason why I'm putting enemies in quotes is I'm sick and tired of books being promoted as enemies to lovers when at most the two main characters kind of sort of dislike each other and maybe bicker a little bit back and forth. That's not enemies to lovers to me. A big example of that, in my opinion, is Flawless by Elsie Silver. That is described as an enemies to lovers romance when, yeah, they kind of don't like each other, but they definitely don't like absolutely hate each other's guts, you know? That relationship is more about like the bicker and banter that turns into love eventually. Can we just leave that behind in 2022? You know, promoting books with tropes that aren't accurate to the books, you know? But I do think that because of how popular the enemies to lovers trope has become because of Book Talk, that authors feel the need to put that label on their books, even though that may not be completely 100% accurate. So I may be alone in that mindset because I haven't really heard many people bring that up, but it is something that truly annoys me. So like, yeah, can we stop with that? Also, I'm kind of over illustrated covers. Like, they're fine. They're fine. And unfortunately, they're becoming even more popular, especially when it comes to traditionally published adult romances. I just feel like illustrated covers give off a different vibe than what's actually in the book. Like what comes to mind is like all of Tessa Bailey's illustrated covers. Like her books are incredibly spicy and hot, but you wouldn't think so by looking at the cover. And so I do think it kind of misleads readers because I'm sure there are people that have picked up those books thinking that they're going to be just like fluffy romances, and then when they realize how hot and spicy they are, they might be really taken aback by that. You know, there are people out there that prefer lower heat and lower steam romances. So in that way, I think it's a bit misleading, but that's just me, you know. Maybe these are hot takes, I don't know. But also, I'm a little bit over discreet covers. Like, can we stop being embarrassed by the covers in the books that we read? Like, I don't know. Like, on the one hand, I get it, but on the other hand, I'm here for the hot clinch covers, you know? I don't know, I definitely feel conflicted about that, but again, I feel like discreet covers are becoming even more popular with the rise of Book Talk, and that's not necessarily my favorite thing. Also, the toxicity that I feel like tends to take place both on Book Talk and on Bookstagram and BookTube, Can we also leave that behind in 2022? I feel like we're just constantly cycling through the same like 5 arguments. The big one that pops into my mind is that audiobooks aren't real reading. I feel like I see that argument happening all the time, whether it be on Twitter or Bookstagram or otherwise. Like, what? Like, why are we still having this argument years later? Like, this argument will just not die, and I'm so over it. By the way, if you're curious, my viewpoint is absolutely that audiobooks are real reading. At the end of the day, you are still taking in the story, it's just in a different format. Yeah, that argument is just so annoying to me. And overall, can we just let people read what they want to read and let people love what they love? I think that's gonna wrap up my thoughts about all of these questions for the New Year Booktuber tag. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I'm gonna tag anyone who wants to do this video. Please feel free to do so, because I certainly had a fun time filming this video. I would love it if you would leave a comment down below if you want to discuss any of the answers that I gave for these questions, or if you want to give your answers for these questions. I would love that as well. I would also really appreciate it if you would leave a like and subscribe, and I thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!